Our next presenter, Dr. Panagis Galiatsoutos, or as Merritt calls him, Dr. G, was born and raised in Baltimore. He is a pulmonary and critical care medicine fellow at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Dr. G is also the co-director and founder of Medicine for the Greater Good and the educational coordinator of Johns Hopkins Bayview's Health Community Partnership. He leads many impactful community health initiatives, including facilitating 8 projects which are directed by Merit Scholars and supported by MGG Fellows. Please join me in welcoming Dr. G.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll give you a little bit of insight into my story. I think some of you already know a little bit about it, but for those who don't, well, you're in for a treat, hopefully. Don't let the long Greek name fool you. I am born and raised in Baltimore, specifically out of Highlandtown. My parents immigrated from Greece, and I always laugh. They could have chosen any city in America to live in, but they chose Baltimore. So I always credit this city with that community specifically of helping me with my own professional identity of who I am now. Growing up in Highlandtown specifically, I'm not sure if you've ever driven by there other than to stop by maybe a local Samos to pick up some souvlaki. But that community is built on tons of row homes. And by the time I could walk and disregard my parents' advice, I would always climb to the roof of my row home and look at the skyline of Baltimore. And it was pretty, but the other part that you could always see was Hopkins Bayview, which at that point in time was known as Francis Scott Key Hospital. Fast forward 20 years later, I remember being an intern in those halls of Hopkins Bayview, and I was excited. I was about to be able to give back to my community as a physician now, and I can provide them some health and so forth. But as many of you who start off their training as physicians come to quickly realize, medical education is just not enough for our patients. Knowing genetics, pharmacokinetics, pathophysiology is oftentimes not enough to really truly treat the health of our community. Health is not just a reflection of wellness. No, it's actually something more. To me, I believe health is linked to a social environment that makes life meaningful. And then knowing that, it's quickly to realize that our biological solutions that we have to offer our patients, it's not surprising that they're often confounded, if not completely undone, by non-biological factors that we learn about, become informed about, but never really engage on a day-to-day basis. And so that's why we created Medicine for the Greater Good, to supplement our medical education for our physicians in training, to really truly learn about the socioeconomic determinants of health. But not just inform them, right? You don't read about a disease and you become informed. You go and see that patient, right? Engage with them in order to combat the disease together. So it's one thing to learn about these determinants of health, these non-biological factors, but let's get them out in the community, engage with the community. That way I always see MGG, Medicine for the Greater Good, as this fulfillment of a spectrum of knowing the science, knowing the patient, but also knowing the community. And I think in my heart, that's what a 21st century healthcare provider needs to be. And so since its formal launching in 2013, many residents have gone through our workshops, learned these skills, not only becoming insightful about these determinants of health, but learning about community engagement, going out there, right, actively working, not just in Highlandtown, but beyond. And what I recognize through some of our projects is that one of our best gifts we were able to work out with the community is actually creating what are known as lay health advocates. These community members, these adult community members who wanted to be seen as healthcare advocates for their own community, for their own neighborhoods, so they can help align population health goals that we have in mind with their own community health goals. Right? At Southern Baptist last year, we brought forth the flu vaccine by one of their community health advocates in order to supplement the fact that many just didn't want to miss a day of work. Great. So if we take that community health goal and align it with our population health goal of increasing the flu vaccine rate in their community, that's a victory. But what became very evident in training these health advocates is that community engagement skills are not exclusive to physicians, and they shouldn't be. I know we're very special, we think that way, but these skills are for everyone. But what I'm about to present to you today is that these community engagement skills are also not exclusive to adults. And that's where Merit comes into play. Over the summer, meeting with some of the leadership from Merit, we discussed, I'm not sure if it's clear what merit scholars are learning. Yes, science. Go science, right? We're all nerds. We get it. But merit scholars also learn about social justice. They learn about socioeconomic determinants of health, right? They sit back and learn about Baltimore City's impact of health in the community here. And it's not a great one, but it's one that must be taught in order to not let it repeat itself. And so I said, that's great. You're creating insightful, informative students. How do we get them engaged? And that's where MGG came in, right? How do we teach them community engagement skills to help them transition from just informed students to actually engaged students to empower their community? And I will tell you, a youth, I call them youth, I feel like we're all youthful, but they are truly youths. I think they're in the best perspective because their professional identities are right now being molded. They get science is important, but why not make them more than just scientists? Why not also create social entrepreneurs where they can launch their next merit? So that's where MGG came into play. And what we've offered are these JHU undergrads, because undergrads I think have a little bit more time than residents, to mentor them over a full academic year and oversee a variety of healthcare projects for their communities to be launched, right? So we get them out in the community. We get them to network. Writing an email at the age of 16, my emails at 16 were horrible, so I can only imagine, what theirs looks like because we have to take you guys up from the next level. But we want to be able to give them these skills in order to make an impact in their community now and for the years to come, right? Because when you guys do graduate as scientists, you'll come back and you'll have these skills already in you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Claudia. And why I wanted to highlight Highlandtown several times is because it comes full circle. Claudia is also from Highlandtown, and it sounds like her and I are alumni of the same elementary school, 237 over there. But I want to bring up Claudia because she highlights that same comment we discussed earlier, that health is more than a state of wellness, but it's linked to a social environment that makes life meaningful. And her conversation today really is about social justice, which is in the same realm of a truly health equity for a community. Claudia?